Hey, if you're watching this video because you picked up a TBT Pedal Controller plugin, thank you. Let's get you up and running. If you checked out on Gumroad as a guest, I'd encourage you to go back and make an account using that same email. I know it's another password, but it allows you to always have a download link for these plugins, as well as access any updates or bug fixes. After you've downloaded your device or devices, the next step is to bring them into Ableton. I'm going to take my devices and place them in a folder on my desktop for the sake of demonstration, but I would recommend putting them in your documents or with your other Ableton related files so they don't get lost. Inside of Ableton, I'm going to open up the browser, come down to the Places section, and add the folder that I made. If I had put the plugins deeper down in some of my other folders, I might add them to their own collection for quick access. On that note, I would not recommend placing these files inside your Ableton user library. This can cause an unnecessary amount of headache if you ever choose to move those files later on. Even if you're just organizing your library, it can cause some issues. This is more of an Ableton issue. I've made a post on the Ableton forum about it. Hopefully it'll get fixed one day, but for now, I would avoid it. Okay, now we need to open up Ableton's preferences. On Windows, you can press Control plus comma or find it on the bottom of the Options menu. On Mac, it's Command plus comma, or under the word Live in the menu bar. Once in the Preferences menu, head to the Link/MIDI tab. Under the MIDI ports section, you want to find the interface you are using to send MIDI information from your computer to your pedals. If you're not sure what this is, please see the video where I talk about what you need to be able to use these plugins in more detail. I'm using the Morningstar MC6 MK2 and I'm trying to send MIDI out of it. So I need to make sure the output has its track settings set to on as well as its remote settings set to on. The sync setting is only necessary if you're trying to send MIDI clock from Ableton. Okay, let's close the Preferences menu and now we're ready to bring one of our plugins into our set. I'm going to drag Timeline Control onto the first MIDI track here. I'm going to right click to rename the MIDI track Timeline and then color it this dark gray color to match the timeline pedal itself a little bit. Next, I'm going to come down to the I/O section, open up the MIDI 2 drop-down, and select my MIDI controller. Then I need to select the same MIDI channel I've set my pedal to. I've set my timeline to channel 4. At this point, if you've done everything correctly, the plugin should be working as expected. If you're encountering issues though, you might want to check that your pedal is configured correctly. I've put details on the product page of each pedal for help with this. Also check out the What You Need video if you haven't to make sure your setup is correct. If all else fails, use the r/TBT Pedal Controller subreddit for help. Okay, the last big thing I want to talk about is how to approach presets. I would recommend creating a project of presets. This means taking this timeline track and duplicating it as many times as you want. Then create a unique tone on each of them. After you're done, save your project with a name like Timeline Presets, for example. Then, if you're ever in a different Ableton set, just find that project in the browser and drag in the sound that you want. Notice that the output information is already configured for us too. I use this method rather than using the Save Preset button here because again, the way the user library currently functions can cause some headache down the line. Ultimately, it doesn't matter as much because when you start using multiple TBT controller plugins, you end up in a workflow like this anyway. Speaking of that, the next tutorial video shows me building a tone step by step using all of these plugins. I would encourage you to check that out, but if you're only using one plugin right now, go explore, use InfoView when you get lost, and have fun.